Welcome to the Christian Emergency League. I am Pastor Calvin Lindstrom, joined by Pastor James Pittman of New Hope Community Church in Palatine. I'm in Arlington Heights. It's been a little while since we were last together for a recording, but today we have I think a very relevant topic. Not that our other ones weren't, but we are discussing what's been called the Johnson Amendment. What is the Johnson Amendment? Is it a Swedish conspiracy to silence churches? Find out. So, James, I'll just ask you, define for us the Johnson Amendment.
All right, so July 7th of this year in 2025, Trump, he signed something. I don't know, was it an executive order? But I don't forget exactly what it was, but he challenged the Johnson Amendment, and they came to some sort of agreement, and they're trying to figure out because they're waiting for the courts to finalize it. But let me go back to the beginning. The Johnson Amendment was enacted in 1954 by not President L. Lyndon B. Johnson, but then Senator. I always thought, I learned some stuff when I researched. I always thought he did it when he was president. No, he did it when he was senator because some 501c3s were coming after him. So what did this wonderful man do? Because he didn't like the political incoming, he proposed what was the not an amendment, but he proposed I don't know what you call it. He changed the tax code.
I think James, in my understanding, it's an amendment.
It is an amendment. Okay.
Law, yeah.
To the tax code, so that 501c3s can no longer go after political candidates,
Right.
And so that actually became law. And so if you were to go after political candidates as a 501c3, which is a tax exempt, it gives you tax exempt status from the federal government. If you did that, you would violate the agreement and you would lose your tax exempt status. That is huge. Calvin, how much would you all pay if you had to pay taxes on your land and building in Arlington Heights?
Yeah.
We would have to pay upwards of $500,000 on the land alone here in Palatine. We can't afford that. There's no way to do it.
No,
So
you're right. Yeah.
Tax exempt status is very important to a church.
Yes.
But here's what happened. He did it to 501c3s that were tax exempt political organizations, but it extended to all 501c3s.
That's right.
I don't think that was the original intent.
No, I don't.
But
think so.
it was signed into law by then President Eisenhower. Boy, I don't understand that. That was in 1954. All right. Then in 1987, that clarification from Congress then strengthened the ban by clarifying that also prohibited any 501c3s that put out statements opposing candidates. So I can't say Bill Clinton is for abortion. That's bad. He shouldn't be our president. Now I can't even say that. 1987, Calvin, Reagan was president in 87. Could they do that without his approval? I don't know. I don't know. It says Congress.
I think once a law is passed, then it does become up to the president, and you might say the executive branch is in charge of enforcing things.
Correct.
But bodies like the IRS probably have a great deal of independency as they start enforcing rules. Correct? That the president,
unless the president steps in, because that's underneath the executive branch. Remember, Trump went after the IRS.
No, that's right. Exactly. So they must have some grounds. And then, James, we can talk about this. July 7th, the IRS entered into a groundbreaking consent decree with two churches. Let me see if I can share this article here.
Yeah, I read that. I was going to get to that. Yep.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Do you want to wait for that later? Okay.
Hey, that's okay.
So yeah, let's see if I can get to the article there from. So on July 7th, the IRS entered into a groundbreaking consent decree with two churches and two religious nonprofits, stating that political endorsements during religious services are not campaign activities, but constitutionally protected private religious expression.
Yeah.
And that you know what, to me that's very significant, right? I mean, we're talking about other changes. To me, this is very, very significant. And you know what, I support I think I could say
Yeah.
I totally
Yeah.
support this decision. However, the
Mm-hmm.
Americans United for Separation of Church and State, I
Mm-hmm.
once debated I think their media director, Rob Boston. I debated him many years ago. Americans United for Church and State have filed a motion in federal court urging the judges to reject the IRS's agreement
Correct.
with the churches.
Correct.
And
And that's Trump's IRS just trying to cut this. And if the courts, here's my thing. Why do the courts why do they need to accept it? I mean, so what are you going to do if both parties are agreeing in a settlement?
correct.
What are you going to say?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Where
Well,
do you go from there?
that's the Democratic playbook. Everything that either Trump does
Everything.
or someone else does just gets challenged
Exactly.
in
Because
in
if,
in a
if you
court situation.
in a court situation to where, because think about it, if you have both plaintiff and defendant agreeing on something, in order for the judge to reject it, the judge in this sense would be writing new laws. That's what the
Correct.
judge would be doing, and
Yes.
you're not supposed to do that. But anyway,
Yep.
you'd find this funny. We talked about this before. So that the ruling on July 7th of this year, I put in ChatGPT. Did the IRS did the Johnson Amendment was it repealed? Was the Johnson Amendment repealed on July 7th, 2025? ChatGPT answered, "You'll be pleased to know the IRS did not abolish the Johnson Amendment." Oh, really? I'd be pleased to know that, right? So
James, you haven't trained your
I haven't trained my ChatGPT
Chat
guy yet.
GPT to
Yeah,
conservative ideas, right?
yeah. But going back a little bit. So in 2017, Trump did write an executive order in 2017 that aimed to ease enforcement of the Johnson Amendment, particularly for religious groups. Now, and again, I've said this before. All of this is played out, and all of this Johnson Amendment stuff. How can I say this? It's only played on one side of the aisle.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In black churches.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
how you start political
Mhm.
campaigns.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
personally, I'm not telling you what I read. I'm not telling you what I heard about. I'm not telling you about what someone told me about or what I read. I'm telling you what I saw
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
Washington D.C. when Marion Barry. When I lived in Washington D.C., I was in college. Must have
Mm-hmm.
been a junior or senior, so that would put it around 94, 95, somewhere in that area. When Marion Barry wanted to, after he got out of jail,
Mm-hmm.
he started to run for re-election. Marion Barry walked into our church, Mount Sinai Baptist Church, 3rd and Q, Northwest. Walked into our church, sat in the front
Mm-hmm.
row. People
Mm-hmm.
clapped. Now, again, from DC, I'm a college student. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They clapped and they said, and then the pastor said, "Look, he did wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
He did wrong." And my pastor there is David Durham. He wasn't a political guy. I don't think he was a Democrat, but any politician that would come, Democrat or Republican,
Mm-hmm.
he would, he would say something. He didn't give him the mic at all. He just came and
Mm-hmm.
sat down, people clapped, and he said, "Look, this man did wrong. He repented of it." So he says, but the man did some good in office. Hopefully, he's cleaned up and he'll go forward.
Hmm.
He did that in Mount Sinai Baptist Church.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw it. He was
Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me. And he do it again. I'm not going to tell you what I heard. I'm going to tell you what I saw in 1995 when I moved here and to Chicago. Jesse Jackson Jr. started his run for the representative on the South Side at
Mm-hmm.
Salem Baptist Church at 117th in Indiana. I was there. It was a Wednesday night. I'm not telling you what I heard. Because again, I didn't know
Yeah.
anything in Chicago. I've been in Chicago for 2 or 3 months, and I was going to a church that did not support the Million Man March, and that was the
Uh-huh.
one church. James Meek
Wow.
was the one church that did not support the
Wow.
Million Man March. So that's the church I just went to, and I
Yeah.
saw him. I saw
Uh-huh.
Jesse Jackson start his campaign in church. They gave him the
Yeah.
mic. Calvin. He went to
Yeah.
the pulpit and he started railing off all the stuff he's going to do as the new representative with the first congressional district. I forget where,
Yeah.
but he started in church.
Yep.
You don't have to take my word for it. When Fannie Willis got in trouble in Georgia, remember that? When all the
Mm-hmm.
blowback was coming back from Trump, that witch hunt she did with Trump. When she tried to start to rehabilitate herself because she got caught with Loverboy,
Mm-hmm.
Calvin,
Mm-hmm.
where was she? Every time you saw her whining and complaining, where was she? She was in the black church in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
She went from church to church to church, and those people in Atlanta was laying hands on her, praying for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my, what kind of
Yeah.
foolishness is this?
Right.
But you go back.
Yeah.
Fannie Willis ran straight to the black church.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Calvin, I'm telling you, that's the way it's always been. It's
Correct.
all when I come to Chicago and they said, well, James, you're going to talk about political issues? I said, well,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. Right.
Why not? I said, because the Johnson Amendment. Calvin, I never heard of the Johnson Amendment until I
Yeah.
came to Illinois,
Right.
and particularly came to this area in 2010, 2010, because there was a church up in Waukegan I attended for a short time. They talk about politics all the time. It wasn't until I came to this area, northwest suburbs, the Palatine, Arlington Heights area in 2010. I heard about the Johnson Amendment. Like, what? What are you talking about? What do you mean you can't talk about political stuff? It's done all the time in the black community. What are y'all talking about? And here's what I realized. I realized that the Johnson Amendment,
Mm-hmm.
even though, and we talk about persecution. How many? Because I asked, I did research. There was a branch ministry in 1992 who got involved in what's that? Binghamton, New York,
Mm-hmm.
lost its tax exempt status because they went after Bill Clinton in the 1992 campaign.
Okay. I thought there was somebody in Indiana doing something very similar to that, like Temple. Something Temple comes to my attention. I
I
should have
don't
done
know
a little
Temple,
research on that.
but there was a radio station in 1972 that lost the tax exempt status because of this. It's a radio ministry. They lost their tax exempt status because,
Right.
and then in 1988, the Bar of New York City exempt published nonpartisan ratings. They lost theirs because judicial candidates went after, right? But that's it.
Yep.
That's all. That's
Yep.
all. And I'm telling you, as much as it was done on the Democratic side in black churches, all the time. Reverend Warnock. Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Warnock
Yes.
from Georgia.
Yeah.
His base was the church, Ebenezer Baptist Church. And
Yeah.
come on, man. So, but what I've learned was, Kelvin, when I came in 2010, is that a lot of the quote unquote evangelical pastors, particularly on the north side, particularly on the aisle of the Republicans,
Yeah.
they used the Johnson Amendment
Right.
to hide their cowardice.
Correct. You know what, James? You made
That's
that
what they
point.
do.
I've heard you made that point years ago, and I believe you were spot on.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
became a way for people to be silent
Yep.
and
Pastors be
correct.
silent.
It was like a free excuse pass.
Yep.
Right.
That's all it is.
Because who wants to mess with the IRS?
But the thing is, they don't have to.
No,
they don't have
I
to
know.
mess with the
No,
IRS,
well, but you
know?
just mentioned the words and Johnson Amendment,
Yep.
and it's like a ready-made defense. So let me ask you this, James: what is appropriate biblically? Let's not talk about the Johnson Amendment.
Yeah.
What are the lines for churches, in your opinion, speaking truth in terms of political matters?
Yeah. So here's where I am. I don't think the church should ever be a foundation for the Democrat or the Republican Party.
Correct.
New Hope
Yes.
Community Church will never be advocating for a party, especially not the Republican Party in Illinois.
Correct.
All right.
Right.
But where a candidate aligns with biblical morals, then that's, I think it's fair case. If you have a candidate, one is pro-life, one is pro-family, and one this same person understands what a woman is, And then you have another candidate who doesn't know what a woman is,
Mm-hmm.
wants to chop up little kids, pump them full of hormones, up abortion up to 9 months,
Mm-hmm.
pro LGBTQ plus. I could say, based on biblical standards, I would rather that candidate than that candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care whether you have an R or a D behind your name. It's the individual and what they stand for. And I probably tell people this. I made a mistake in 92 and voted for Bill Clinton. I counted up as youthful ignorance. I never voted for a Democrat president again. But when I moved to Illinois, 95 was it had to be either 95 or 96. They had a governor's race between George Ryan and Glenn Poshard.
Yeah.
I voted for Glenn Poshard, the Democrat.
Yes. Yeah.
Because George Ryan was a pro-choice Republican.
Yep.
Glenn Poshard was a pro-life Democrat. He's a dinosaur. He was the last one.
No, that's right. Yeah.
He was the
And
absolute
James,
last one.
the Republicans kicked my dad off the ballot because he was running for governor on the Taxpayer Party that year. And he also, yes, yep.
Wait, what year was that? 95 or 96? Which one is it? 96?
Or excuse me, maybe it's 96. Maybe it's 96, James.
Yeah. 95 or 96?
It was the Glenn Poshard election because I remember my dad voted for Glenn Poshard too.
Yeah.
And that was the only time my dad, I think, voted for a Democrat also. So exact same logic that you used.
And here's how I explain to people. The reason why I brought the Bill Clinton in 1992, when I sat down and there was a guy by the name of Larry, I forget his last name. I want to say Larry Johnson, but I'm not sure that's it. He was a speaker at the Campus Crusade for Christ in D.C. And he sat down. He says, "Okay, here's what our Christian values are. Here's what Bill Clinton believes. Here's what George Bush believes." And he went down. Boom, 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 boom. He says, "Now, who y'all voted for?" Because he know we were black, went to Howard. We voted for the Democrat. Who y'all voted for? And he said, "Who voted for Clinton?" Now seeing what he believes. And Calvin, I felt so small.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness. I voted for the wrong man. And I tell people, if you are a Christian and Christ is number one in your heart, and you now adopt his righteousness and his righteous standards, then there's no way you can vote Democrat national. You can't do it.
Right.
You can't do it. And I tell people that's why I am not part of the Democrat Party, and I'm really an independent. And for the most part, I don't vote Democrat nationally for what they stand for. And I don't understand how you could be a Christian and vote Democratic anyway. But getting back to the question, New Hope Community Church, first of all, we don't support parties. We'll support candidates and their stances.
Correct.
And it has to be a clear biblical stance by which we stand on: the life issue, the marriage issue, the transgender issue, right? Women and men as defined in Scripture. That stuff's right. I would love to vote against any candidate that wants to hike your taxes, but that we don't do that. I mean, Romans 13, pay tax, doom taxes is done. So taxes isn't inherently sinful. But the way they use it is terrible.
Correct. Yes. No. I yeah.
But so I don't draw lines there.
However, I think if you draw those other lines you're discussing, you're going to be drawing the other lines too.
You say that again?
If you draw the lines where what you've described, they're going to fall into the other positions for the most part also.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Correct.
I see what you're saying, because you're not going to have someone who's pro-family, pro-life, anti-transgender, and then high in taxes. You're not going.
Correct.
No, you're right.
So if you get the biblical priorities in order. Now, let me ask you this: Dr. Erwin Lutzer, a wise man, godly man, he I believe I'm not quoting him directly, but he said he would not publicly endorse candidates because candidates are notorious for not always. Well, candidates are notorious for not keeping their word, saying one thing in an election and doing another thing. Would
Yeah.
would
Now,
you publicly endorse a candidate?
here's what I would. Yes, I would. I would disagree on this stance,
Okay.
but I would talk to the candidate. Again, I'm not Aaron Luther. No one's asking for James Pittman's endorsement from New Hope Community Church, right? Not
Right.
yet, anyway.
Correct. Yes.
If I had the clout that Earl Luther did have, I said
Mm-hmm.
I would endorse you if you're pro-life, with this one caveat: if you change, I will
Mm-hmm.
publicly denounce you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will publicly denounce you. If you want,
Mm-hmm.
if this is what you want, when I give the endorsement publicly, I'm also going to say I've got an agreement with said candidate. Said candidate said I am free to do, and I will do it whether he likes it or not.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm going to endorse him because he's pro-family and he's pro-life now. If he ever turns,
Yes.
I
Uh-huh.
will publicly revoke my endorsement and I call him out for the hypocrisy and that he lied to me. I
Mm-hmm.
would.
Yeah. Correct. No, I agree.
I would.
James, in speaking of the black church, part
Oof.
part of the reason I believe why they are politically involved is there are benefits. Correct. You get benefits if you fit into the system,
Well, that's
right?
one way to put it.
Yeah. No, I mean,
You're
however
being
that
kind. You're being
correct.
kind.
Yeah. I mean, you become you support the existing order and there are rewards. Reverend Jeremiah Wright, after he retired, he moved into a gated white community in part because he had
Yeah.
he oh yeah, he moved into a gated white community. His church got a lot of money,
How so?
because they ran programs.
Oh, yes.
Whether it was preschool, aftercare, I forget exactly. But they were master. I mean, he was a very connected man. And he figured out the system, and it was an ATM for that church. Let me just say that, an ATM.
Now here's the rumor, Kelvin, and I've actually heard this from multiple pastors, multiple people who were involved in that because I was involved in an organization, the Southern Baptist, and I spoke to some pastors, and so Old Man Daly, not the last Daly, but the other Daly.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about this, and again, I'm just telling what other men have told me independently. So if they're all independently lying, and it's on them. But the city instituted, like you said, this government program to where you would have these after school.
Yes.
They would the government would pay you for the church to have an after school program in the church for
Mm-hmm.
daycare for single moms and
Yeah.
stuff like
Right.
that. And so that's why in Chicago you see a lot of churches on the corner, storefronts or
Correct.
whatnot, and you say
Yeah.
they got 3 people on Sunday. How the heck they open? You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's because it's the local daycare center that's
Correct.
paid by the city. Now,
Right.
if your church speaks out against the mayor
Correct. Yes.
and your main income comes
No, that's
from
right.
city
Right.
program,
Yep.
guess what happened to your daycare?
Correct.
It wouldn't get
Exactly.
approved. And guess
No,
what happened to your
exactly. Yep.
after-school program?
Right.
It went.
No,
And so,
exactly.
so, so it seemed like City Hall in Chicago found a way
Mm-hmm.
to pacify
Yes.
the black community
Mm-hmm.
through the black church, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote,
I
black
agree.
church,
Yeah.
through the programs. And
Yep.
when they did that, you ceased to be a church.
Mm-hmm.
You're just an after school program
Right.
that
So
has
the
a
point,
Christian
yeah,
name on it.
no, exactly. So the point I'm making is this: that is a reality.
Yep.
Certainly, we're not making an accusation against every church.
No,
Let's say
no,
on the conservative end, here's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Republican politicians
Yeah.
love to use conservatives, and then love to ignore, like you said, the promises that
Yeah.
were made.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this: the black church, though I don't agree with it, at least they're getting something for their money. Whereas on the conservative end,
Yeah, what are the conservatives doing? What are they getting? You're right, Calvin.
well, R.J. Rushton, he pointed this out in his book called Christianity and the State. I remember reading it, and it was true. And this includes even Reagan. Reagan loved the conservatives, the Christians who helped him get elected.
Mhm.
Not and some of them, I mean, they played a role in that. Anyway, my point is, as Christians, we have to be careful not to be enthralled with the men or women who are gaining
Look,
political power, because
absolutely.
that's where Jesus is harmless as doves, wise as serpents. So it's not. I think what the admonition is, not just get involved in politics, but make sure you're not being used
Yeah,
or bought off,
yeah, yeah.
because that is certainly, Jesus did not try to buy the favor of the Jewish
No,
nor Roman officials.
not at all.
So
Not
that I think
not
is
at all.
the that's the message. It's that prophetic role that
Yes.
churches, and James, I don't know if you want to address this. District 211 became the center for the transgender movement under the Biden White House, correct?
No, 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 no. Obama did in 2015 before he left office,
Oh,
right
sorry.
before
Oh, sorry.
Burger
Okay, that's right.
But
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Obama pushed it because he knew 211 was the largest high school district in Illinois. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. Sorry. So that yeah. Obama, not Biden.
Hmm.
Can you share the report that you heard from a school administrator who was trying to get pastors to speak at board meetings on some of these issues?
Well, no, no, no. You talking about my new? He's new to the
Yes.
church. It
Right.
wasn't 211. It was before then. It was before then that
Oh, it was
led up
before
to the
211. Okay.
that led up to it. And so it was just a few years before it. So
Got it.
he's a school administrator that recognized in 2012 is when he left, and
Yeah.
I'm going to do a podcast with him soon. He's already agreed to it, so I'm not.
Good.
He said, no, he says, no, James, I'm retired. Go ahead, speak it
Okay.
out.
Good.
I'm gonna interview him soon for Christian Emergency League.
Good.
Um, he, in 2012, he said it was the law. He, as superintendent up further north, was holding back and was pushing all the sexual stuff out,
Mm-hmm.
and he saw it coming. And so in 2012, he went to the Christian organization where he was superintendent, and he told the pastors, "Hey, the way we can combat this, because he saw where it was going." He said, "I
Mm-hmm.
saw." He said, "When you elected Obama, I knew a Bertefeld,
Obergefell. Yeah.
Burgerfeld. He said, I
Obergefell.
know Burgerfeld was just a matter of time." So he went
Correct.
to the organization. He says, "Hey, the way we combat this is you've got to get people on the school boards to
Yeah.
stop it right now. You've got to
Right.
do it. You've got to do it. You've got to do it." And they said, "Nah, we're good." He says, "We're good probably now." He says, "But it's coming."
Correct.
And they would not.
Yeah.
They wouldn't lift a finger. And
Right.
he says, "I'm telling you, it's coming. You're going to be abandoning a lot of kids in these public
Mm-hmm.
schools. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
sexualize." And he says, when he left, it was 2012, and then 2015, a Bertefeld come down. And he
Obergefell.
says,
Yep. Uh-huh.
and now all this sexual stuff is here. He says, "I saw it coming, and you
Mm-hmm.
saw it coming in the school system." He said he even wrote Mike Madigan, and he says, "You guys are trying to push this sexual stuff in here. That's against Illinois law." He
Mm-hmm.
says, and Madigan said, "Oh, it's not going to be an issue. It's not going to happen. What you're saying is not going to happen." He said it
Mm-hmm.
happened 3 years later with Bertha Fell and all that other stuff. So
Yep.
um, the point is, you had a Christian superintendent who had more courage than all of the ministers
Yeah.
in his area, and
Yep.
it's sad. Calvin, you know what? I did a podcast earlier today, and I said, look, I couldn't find anybody. Okay, I'll say it. It was hard for me to find anybody
Yeah.
in 211's district. I
Correct.
said the only people that got Calvin, that's it, but he wasn't in 211.
No,
But
I know.
nobody else. I
Correct.
mean, how many people came up to us, Calvin, when we were going through the school board saying, why isn't my pastor involved?
Correct. I know. Yeah, that is the yeah. A pastor cannot do everything. We know that, right?
No, he can't do everything.
A man's Clint Eastwood's a man's got to know his limitations. A pastor's got to know his limitations.
Yes. Yeah, I can't do
However,
all that.
especially when there's a call, when District 211 became the ground center,
Yes, and it was. Yes.
right? And it's like we can't even we're so I don't think that's the biblical call in terms of being salt and light. And you gotta be involved. Churches have to be involved, not as political organizations, but
Correct.
as the body of Christ seeking to speak truth
Correct.
in these areas, right?
Correct.
And that's why, James, your church, and there's a few others. We even though we have some doctrinal differences, we have
Hmm.
found a common spirit in terms of that calling to be a witness, and
Yeah.
that's what we're calling for other churches to recognize. This is what we must be part of,
Yeah.
because we can't, no church can do it on its own, and we
Correct.
do have to be trying to motivate and encourage others. Let me share, James, from this one article uh, about steps related to this Johnson Amendment that I think are
Hmm.
helpful. First of all, there's going to be a federal judge reviewing this case. So
Yeah.
one of the things that we can be doing is
Ah.
praying for this matter. Share this article. We can share it in our links. This is
Hmm.
Robert Goodman's Substack.
Hmm.
Pastors, speak the truth boldly from your pulpit, and in this case, Liberty Counsel, I think is doing a good job representing this. I am so thankful there are some good law firms, good Christian
Hmm.
organizations that
Hmm.
have come to the defense. So I think that's a good word to share if you're watching this this issue.
Hmm.
Learn more, share it, speak it, and if you're able to even support one of the organizations that's fighting on behalf of
Yeah.
Christians. James, I would love to do an interview with a Canadian pastor.
Oh, I can get one.
Yeah, because you
I,
know what? I keep reading about what's going on in Canada.
you know what?
It is
Mm.
frightening,
It
really frightening.
it is.
It's, I
It
mean,
is.
they haven't built the gulags, but
Not
that's
yet.
no, I don't want to exaggerate, but that's I see, and can't, in that sense, Canada is with Europe on that. So that is an issue that should definitely concern us.
Here, let me tell you, because my daughter-in-law is actually Canadian,
Mm,
and she's from Alberta, and she said Alberta is actually
yeah,
in the middle of
it's like the
raising,
breakaway.
yeah, state police. And I'm like,
Oh,
excuse me? She's like, yeah, Canada doesn't have state. There's no police. There's only federal police. There's no state police. She says, but Alberta is now in the process of raising its own armed forces. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. She says, no. And I said, so what Trump was talking about is true. She's like, you darn right it's true. They think Alberta is going to break away. It's so bad. That's how bad it
mm,
is.
yeah,
That's how
wow.
that's how bad it is. Alberta's going to break. I'm like, really? I said, that would be civil war. She's like, what they going to invade with? She said, half the people in the Canadian federal arms are from Alberta. Half
Mm,
of them. So what do you think?
wow.
What army? What army? Like, wow. Like, I
That
didn't know that.
must be the most conservative part of Canada,
It is.
correct?
It's their
Yeah,
Texas. Alberta is
it's their
their
Texas.
Texas.
Okay.
And it's also where all the oil is. And if Alberta was to succeed, Canada would collapse in 72 hours.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and
but
and
boy,
and guess
that's how
what?
bad it is. That's how
The
bad it is.
UN would send in armies to support
And I
the
guarantee you,
rest of Canada.
Trump would send his
Well,
too, because
Trump might help out. But that,
Trump would help out, because
you know,
Alberta
if
would be the Texas. Alberta
if
would be a
Tom
Texas.
Clancy was still alive, would that be
Oh,
an interesting novel? I mean, I would hate to
yes,
see it
yes, it
break
would.
up,
Yes,
but
it would.
you can
Yeah,
imagine. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. I
that
mean,
would be tough.
correct. Yeah, it would
That would
be.
be tough. But you know what? Going back to 2015, like you said, you and I, again, what was heartbreaking was when District 211 was the focal point, and a lot of things going on in this debate with transgender issue. Calvin, I don't think you were there that night when they actually passed it, but you had over 500 people. They had to move to a cafeteria at a high school.
Mm,
And I want to say a majority of it were people that was busting from Chicago.
yeah.
You had all the Looney Tunes. You had a lot of men in dresses and high heels with lipstick. My point is, they rallied their troops,
Yes. Correct. You're right, James. No. Yes.
but the
Yep.
biblical soldiers didn't show up.
Correct.
They didn't show up, and,
Hmm.
and that's what it seems like. That the world is more passionate and more devoted to
Correct.
spreading their beliefs
Right.
than the church is
Yep.
with the truth. And
Hmm.
so that's why the Christian Emergency League exists.
Right.
Christians, get up off the couch and build the kingdom. That's what he told us to do.
Mm-hmm.
He told us to build. And again, we act like these verses aren't in scriptures. He who doesn't gather with me scatters.
Mm-hmm.
There's only two sides. Either you're scattering or you're gathering.
Right.
There's no middle ground there. And so we just want churches and Christians to gather and build the kingdom. So,
Amen. Well, James, thanks for the discussion. And
thank you.
listeners, learn more about us. You can visit ChristianEmergencyLeague.org, ChristianEmergencyLeague.org, and join with us on events and other outreaches that we're planning. The Lord bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.